Welcome to Pop Screen, the podcast that's been kept secret by the church for 2,000 years. We are that corner of the Geek Show that likes to look at the good, the bad, and the inexplicable of movies either starring by or about pop stars. Another podcast that covers such a broad range of musical and cinematic genres, from country and western to hip-hop, from horror to horror, because this, listeners, if you'll just give me a second, is... It's our Halloween special!
Yay.
Let me just adjust the lighting. Does it feel like the season now, Rob?
It does. I mean, I often think Halloween is great, but I've just not seen enough torches in people's mouths. It's just not buying it.
Every single year I do this, and it fucks my eyes.
Well, don't do it then.
You'd think that would be the logical next step, and yet here I am for another year, shining the big seasonal affective disorder lamp of horror underneath my face.
It's nice it's got a name, though. It's nice it's
Yeah.
got a name.
Yeah. Not a catchy name, but it's a name. Yes, I am your host, Graham Williamson. I'm a writer, filmmaker, and artist whose work will, I think when this goes out, they'll still be on show at Scarborough's old parcel office for another week or so. And also my short film funded by the BFI's Aberystwyth Heritage Fund is currently going around the country. I also write regularly for the Geek Show and sometimes for Byline Times. And I've been joined this week by,
I guess, editor of the Geek Show, writer again, and sometime interviewer for stuff that we're doing on our YouTube channel. But beyond that, filmmaker and host of the Uncut podcast, which will be back by now. Yes, had a bit of a sabbatical, an unforced sabbatical, but that is the way sometimes. You got to roll with the punches, and we are back after being punched pretty hard and rolling with it.
Well, it's given you a chance for a very exciting rethink, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. We're looking to effectively have one of the normal episodes per month, and the other one will be basically doing the same thing, but talking to an indie filmmaker about what they want to do, or what they're inspired by, I should say, and one of their existing movies. So, yeah, it's setting myself up for a great fall, but it'll be a spectacular if I pull it off.
I've never heard anyone go into a new project with that kind of energy. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah. And if I fail. No, but I don't think it will. There's a lot of filmmakers out there, indie filmmakers, who, are just crying out for that opportunity to share what they do. And it's really weird to talk about this with somebody with a torch in their face. But I'll go ahead.
Is this why you're feeling so negative about it? Because I'm scaring you?
Yeah, maybe deep down you are scaring me. Yeah.
Yes, it is our Halloween special, and we are doing what I think is a proper, like if Halloween was like Christmas and you had to have a meal at the center of it, this would be the thing that you were watching on telly. It feels like a proper slap-up Halloween feast of a movie.
It does. By elder statesman of horror. I don't like using the term master of horror because I saw the UK version and I thought, oh, did they just give him out with the cereal or something?
Is that a UK version of Masters of Horror?
Yeah, it's much less impressive.
How odd. Okay.
Because I have to Google people, and that's not what you want from something that Masters of Horror.
No. But yes, this is John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness.
Yes, the second or third, I can't quite remember its sort of lineage in the Apocalypse trilogy
It's the second, his Apocalypse trilogy, which seems to me to be very oddly defined. According to him, it's The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and In the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah. His best three, I think.
Oh, interesting. Right.
Yeah. Not that I don't like the others. It's just these three are the most daring, I dare say.
I can go with that. Yeah. I mean, if we should start off by doing Carpenter top trumps, I think, because he's a director who has a broad enough canon of recognized great films that everyone can probably pick three different ones.
Yeah, I mean these three are great. I'll always have a soft spot from Escape from New York because it was the first one of his I seen.
Yeah.
And you know, I'll do it because of that.
Me, I love The Thing. I love Assault on Precinct 13, which often gets overlooked for being not a horror film. And now I have to pick only one more, don't I? Which is The Rod I Have Made for My Own Back. I remember really liking The Fog. It could be They Live. I really love They Live.
Yeah, The Fog is weird on a rewatch.
Yeah.
Because it's like 5 minutes of it is horror and the rest is all build up. It's so surreal. And you remember watching it when you're younger. It's just all scary. No, it wasn't as scary as I remember it being.
Okay. I mean, this takes a while building up to its sort of Carpenter-esque siege apocalypse stuff, but the build-up is all completely batshit. So
It is. I mean, one of my favorite genres in horror. I mean, yeah, somebody sets up a sentence like that, you think, oh, I'm going to say slashers or
body
zombie
horror,
movies or
yeah.
something like that. But I don't even have a name for it. You could call it sci-fi horror, but I don't think that quite sums it up. I just call it science and spooky shit.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. I remember, I think I called this something like pseudo-science fiction, where it is rooted in that sort of particularly 70s moment where they're like, well, Uri Geller says he's psychic. Let's stick an electrocardiogram on him and then we'll have a definitive answer. I love that shit.
Yeah, it's nonsense. It's like trying to explain the unexplainable, but it's so
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, because this is nothing less than a film about how quantum mechanics proves that the devil is real and he's also God and Jesus is an alien.
And also made out of slime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the slime is the only bit in what we've just said, listeners, that is sort of continuous throughout the film. The rest of the film's metaphysics are generally just one-liners tossed off by Victor Wong's Professor Birack.
Yeah, and also there's dreams in there that are being communicated via some sorts of technological advance from the future.
Not
Which,
even a technological advance. It's all down to tachyon particles,
yes.
which I looked this up. A hypothetical type of particle that can travel faster than the speed of light and therefore presumably can time travel. Although how they end up in your dreams is.
Yeah, it's sort of the name in particular that comes up with this is Nigel Kneale because there's so many references to him in this.
Hugely, yes.
I think if I remember correctly, it's credited as being written by Martin Quatermass.
Yes.
And
Which
there's
is
other
John
sort of
Carpenter, naturally.
just
Yeah.
using a pseudonym. Apparently, Nigel Kneale did not like that.
Really?
Them two did not get on, from what I recall, in a podcast about this sort of topic. Which, to be honest, that's kind of par for the course from what I've heard about Nigel Kneale. Nobody liked him, and he liked nobody. So.
There is that. Yeah, he got very chippy when they asked him to write for Doctor Who, which I can sort of understand because classic series Doctor Who made a speciality of ripping off Nigel Kneale at least once a series.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Which he was if you don't know the name, he was the author behind a lot of things, but in particular the Quatermass movies. of the 50s to late 70s, I guess they were.
Yeah, the Quatermass TV series ran from, I think, about 53, and then sort of intermittently appeared and had one last run with John Mills in 1979. They were also the basis for the first three, at least, were the basis for Hammer movies as well.
Yes. Intermittently good Hammer movies.
I think most of the Hammer Quatermasses are good, apart from Brian Donlevy as Quatermass, who is just completely wrong for the part. And admittedly, that's a big thing to get wrong, but I think most of what's in there works.
True. So if the connection of that to this is the weird one, how do you get from Quatermass to basically finding out whether Slatin is God or an alien, or
Well,
the quantum mechanics of the whole situation? It's kind of a leap there.
yeah. I don't know. There's the Quatermass thing that it's most clearly referencing is Quatermass and the Pit, which is one of those kind of ancient alien stories, and one of the first to do it, where you have aliens who were found like buried deep in strata of Earth, and there's a lot of theorizing about what role these aliens had in human evolution and human
What was
mythology.
it? Like something buried in Hobbs End at the tube station in London, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that's correct.
And then it goes on to weird stuff.
Yeah.
I think in the short, sort of abridged version. But yeah.
There's a couple of other non-Quatermass Kneale scripts that I think are worth referencing here. There's one that's now been lost, like a lot of classic British television, but he wrote a script called The Road, which is a one-off play about people in, I think, medieval Britain who were having visions of what they thought was hell. And it turned out that what they couldn't see, but what was obvious to the viewers, was that the visions were all visions of the present day. And that seems to have inspired the bits with the tachyons and the dreams here. But the other one is something that I know, Rob, we're both huge fans of, and what is one of the founding texts of this kind of pseudo science fiction movement, which is the Stone Tape.
Yes, which is a movie which I equally love and think is ridiculous.
Welcome to Nigel Kneale's world.
Because here is a reference which won't travel at all to whoever listens to this, but the lead character is like kind of Noel Edmonds if he forgot to take his meds.
So Noel Edmonds, then.
Yeah, basically.
I'd like to think that anyone listening to this podcast has heard me talk about Noel Edmonds too often for that to be a difficult reference for them.
I hope so, yeah. But that's a great movie. If I remember correctly, about ghosts that are haunting a particular place, and they were trying to prove whether they actually exist through, well, machinery and mechanical means.
Yeah. The idea behind it is that a ghost is not the spirit of a dead person. It's a sort of recording that ends up encased in the stone and can be replayed, hence the Stone Tape. And I think Prince of Darkness has something similar to that, in the way that you can't really call it scientific speculation, even if it's rooted in science, but it takes something that is part of folklore or mythology or whatever and retells that story using science language.
Yeah, it's a fun subgenre, which for something which touches on so many sort of intellectual and dense theological things, theological and fear. Oh, that's a mouthful. Theories
all
and
the
theology.
theologicals, I think, is where,
and to describe that as fun is an odd sort of thing. It's like somebody admitting that they're enjoying maths. But it's not quite the same thing, I don't think. But yeah, it takes a different sort of stance on. I mean, what this is fundamentally talking about is religious horror and possession horror, but it just takes it from a completely different angle, really.
Yeah, I think one of the things, like I watched this when I was very young and enjoyed it, but I didn't have some of the sort of social context for 80s America that I do now. And I think one of the things that I found quite appealing on Watchback is that you have a film made in 1987, which is kind of satanic horror, but because of the way it's recast the props of that, it doesn't play into the satanic panic shit at all.
No, it doesn't. It's also very progressive in other ways besides evading that whole mania that hit
Yes.
America. I mean, it's so deep. They've made many documentaries about the whole satanic panic thing, and the new satanic church have to distinctly say we're not like that other one.
Yes.
Where sort of the intellectual separation of state and religion, not the one which is about sacrificing things.
Which to a large extent never existed.
Yeah, there was a few nutters who sort of identified as it, but as a sort of a mass movement, yeah.
No, you can't point to anything organizational. So that's quite weird, really, isn't it? It's like sort of, I don't know, it's like starting up a local council and saying, we're not Trumpton. Trumpton has nothing to do with us. And you think, well, yeah,
it was just a wild time. They were blaming like Dungeons and Dragons for being satanic, and it was just so weird.
In my experience, they should have objected to Dungeons and Dragons on the grounds that it makes kids more gay, because every single person I've met who's into Dungeons and Dragons is queer as hell.
I didn't know there was a commonality between those two things.
If the religious right would put me in charge of working this shit out, they'd get some solid points across.
Not so much a Venn diagram, but a circle.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about this is it's progressive in other ways that I don't think it means to be.
Yeah.
Because the casting is very modern for a movie made in 1987.
Yes.
We've not got Dennis. I've got best get the cast.
Dennis Dunn.
I'm not great at remembering names. But Dennis Dunn is one of them. If I remember correctly, he was in Big Trouble in Little China, and I don't remember him from much else.
Yeah.
And there's another prominent 80s Chinese actor who's basically that wacky looking guy from a lot of stuff. And personal favourite.
That is Victor Wong, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Who I think was also in Big Trouble in Little China, wasn't he?
I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Same, yeah.
But there's Donald Pleasance, who's almost like a recurring character in what he does. And it's nice to see him with his actual accent in an American movie, because as a kid, I thought he was American.
Yeah, same. Yeah, for the longest time.
Black actors, Native American actors, there's young actors, there's old actors. It's like a real spectrum. And in the middle of that is Alice Cooper, as I think he was credited as Rat King.
No, he's credited as Street Schizo, which is maybe slightly less progressive, but it's quite funny.
It doesn't make a deal out of any of those ethnicities. It's just here as a character. Like the lecturer is Victor Wong, who is basically cast at that point in time as he's got a lazy eye, so he's like a wacky Chinese street vendor, mystic, or something like that. And to see him playing like a normal guy, he was in some pretty outlandish situations. It's like what was it called? Night of the Living Dead, and it's famous. Can't remember the name. Dwayne Jones, was it, if I remember correctly?
Dwayne Jones, yeah.
He didn't cast him because he was black. He cast him because he was the best guy for the job. And there's a degree of that here too, I think.
I think there is. I mean, in terms of Carpenter's career, he'd just done Big Trouble in Little China, and although that's obviously a huge cult movie now, he didn't enjoy making it. He didn't enjoy working with a bigger budget and more producers and all of the sort of extra strings that he was tied down with that come along with that. But he did enjoy working with the actors. And I think, the Asian actors in particular are in Prince of Darkness because he liked working with them. And that's that. And you're right, it is like when you consider that up until our adolescence in the sort of 90s and noughties, you were still seeing films and TV shows set in California where everyone was white. So it's weird to say that Prince of Darkness is quite realistic because it is a movie where Satan is a cylinder full of goo. But in that respect only, it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Friends, the sitcom. It takes place in a version of New York where there's not a single like black person, Puerto Rican, or anything. It's like, where is this New York? It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. But yeah, it's quite nice that these characters have this opportunity to just act. It's not you're an Asian guy, do the kung fu. He doesn't do anything like that.
I will say, as right as you are about this, it is very funny to say that Victor Wong's role in here is just a normal guy, considering he's introduced giving the maddest lecture in screen history.
I can't remember the specifics of it, but you can have an eccentric lecturer. That's pretty normal in movie circles.
I'm going to bring it up now because it's spectacular, and it happens in this sort of stretch of the film where the opening credits technically go on for a very long time, and every time you think they're over, they come back in. But like something like, I guess, what's the film called? Early Coen Brothers film, Raising Arizona, which came out the same year. You get a lot of movie before those opening credits have even finished. I've got the quote here, by the way.
That's a fine year, by the way. This and Raising Arizona. That's a good year,
isn't it? Yeah, and a lot of stuff in '87. RoboCop was in '87. Yeah, it's good. But Professor Edward Birach's opening lecture. Let's talk about our beliefs and what we can learn about them. We believe nature is solid and time is a constant. Matter has substance and time a direction. There is truth in flesh and the solid ground. The wind may be invisible, but it's real. Smoke, fire, water, light, they're different, not as to stone or steel, but they're tangible. And we assume that time is narrow because it is as a clock. 1 second is 1 second for everyone. Cause precedes effect. Fruit rots. Water flows downstream. We're born, we age, we die. The reverse never happens. None of this is true. Say goodbye to classical reality because our logic collapses on the subatomic level into ghosts and shadows.
And it just the shot before it begun. Beforehand, because that is the most cocaine-fueled sort of lecture I've ever heard.
The tragedy is that it never goes to a reverse shot of his students who are presumably writing this all down, thinking, shit, I hope we're not being tested on this.
Yeah. And it's also one of those sort of era movies where the students, there's no way they're students.
No, there isn't.
You've got balding guys, you've got basically the Tom Atkins guy who isn't Tom Atkins.
You've got like the main guy who plays Jameson Parker, who plays Brian, is basically what happens if you order Donald Sutherland off Wish.com.
Oh, that's cruel. He's fine. He's not Donald Sutherland, sure, but he's fine.
He is a bit like that, I'm afraid.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, there is a lot of ropey acting in this.
Yeah.
Especially reaction shots too. There's one in particular I don't want to like shame and name, but when the goo tank piddles in someone's mouth for the first time, that reaction is pretty raw stuff.
They could have had a more believable, horrified reaction if they just had you on set, so you could say when the goo tank piddles in someone's mouth.
It's basically what I'm saying. Is basically the big tank of goo wheezes in someone's mouth. It pees in someone's mouth. That's what happens there.
I mean, he's not wrong, listeners. This big tank of goo which has been guarded by a church in San Francisco for centuries, and that its custodian has died, and they are now doing scientific tests on it, and it also does seem to have a pee fetish. I
Yeah,
mean, it's Satan. You expect some pretty messed up stuff, but
you have to be kicked out of heaven for some reason, and peeing in
yeah,
people's mouths is a good reason.
that's it. Yeah,
Honestly,
what it was.
it's like, I love that sort of setup. Though, really, that sort of the church has been hiding something for centuries, and the custodian dies, and anarchy on what happens. That's the good shit. That I really like that setup, and it's in loads of stuff, and it's always you've got me with that setup. That is good stuff.
I mean, two observations about that. Firstly, this is basically, you've made me realise that this is basically John Carpenter's Conclave.
A little, yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, I have long held the belief that any work of fiction that predates the Da Vinci Code but is sort of in the same ballpark as the Da Vinci Code will inevitably be a million times better than the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah, because it's not written by Dan Brown.
Dan Brown really struck Peter with the worst version of this kind of story you could possibly write.
Because most of them are pretty good. I mean, I'm even I can't remember the name of it, but there was a Michael Winner movie which was just nonsense, and even that was better than Dan Brown's version.
Michael Winner movie that was just nonsense. I find that
I know
hard
I'm
to
talking.
believe.
I mean, there's a guy who was never fueled by more cocaine and his own body weight. Oh no, he was a well-adjusted person,
Yes.
completely normal.
But it's true for all of them. It's true for the second series of Millennium. It's true for Georges Franju's Shadow Man, which also has a load of Knights Templar intrigue and is just massively entertaining. And it's true for this.
Just an easy in.
Yeah.
Because who knows what the church is up to? It's just instantly understandable that the church is up to some shady stuff. It's gone wrong. I'm in. Yeah.
They have Satan in a big lava lamp in the basement is actually less scandalous than a lot of church scandals that broke after this.
Yeah. It's a bit weird that it's in San Francisco. I mean, is that where he was before all this went down? Was he just hanging out with all of the Native Americans? Is that what was going on?
I'm sure there's a lot of American fundamentalist Christians who would agree that that explains a lot about San Francisco.
Yeah. I won't dig into that, but yeah, you can imagine that. It's a hive of, oh yeah, you know how they're going to go.
Oh yeah,
But it's just fun. It's just fun. It's just a siege horror movie at the end of the day, and I think genre-wise, that's also an easy win for me, really.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's Carpenter's love of Howard Hawks and particularly Rio Bravo coming into it, which makes it especially nice that I didn't realize this, but Peter Jason, who plays one of the older academics, Dr. Leahy, his screen debut was in Rio Lobo, the last film Howard Hawks directed.
That's a nice little bit of circular history there.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done it quite a few times. Escape from what was it called? Escape from Mars. I can't remember the name of that one.
Oh, Ghosts of Mars. Yeah.
Ghosts of Mars. That one's just sort of a blur in my memory, but that's basically siege horror. This is.
The Thing definitely is.
Assault on Precinct 13 is.
Yeah.
I don't know what else is. Maybe there's more, but it's a thing that works for him.
It's a thing that definitely works for him. Yeah, I think it's got the sort of the combination of the claustrophobia and the constant threat, the constant violent threat is something that Carpenter really brought that to horror movies, didn't he? I mean, you can point to a lot of horror movies before this that were violent, and you can point to a lot of ones before him that were claustrophobic, but often claustrophobic horror in the past was often haunted house stuff. There isn't really a physical pressing threat to it in that way.
Yeah, and there is here
Mm.
some nuts stuff happens in this movie.
Yes, yeah.
The first time someone leaves, they basically have half of a bike stabbed into them by Alice Cooper.
Now there's a backstory to that.
Oh, interesting.
And this brings us on to the whole issue of Alice Cooper and why he's in the film. Because Shep Gordon, one of the film's executive producers, was also, I mean, legendary as a talent manager in Hollywood and in the rock industry as well. And at the time, he was Alice Cooper's manager. So there was a bit of talk back and forth. Cooper obviously is a massive horror fan, as I think anyone who's heard his music will know, and was interested in being in it. Carpenter said yes, on the condition that he could legally use a prop rig that Cooper was using in his live shows to make it look like he'd impaled someone on stage. And that's the bicycle rig. That's where it comes from.
That's an odd sort of caveat to a contract, isn't it?
It really is, yes.
I mean, it is weird things for like rock stars, but that's kind of cool. I think that's kind of nice. It's not like I need all the. I mean, I'm focusing on cocaine a lot today, but it was the 80s. Let's be honest.
It was the 80s, and you've just watched Prince of Darkness, a film which is hard to make sense of to any undrugged mind.
Yeah, I mean, just to sort of follow that logic, the next time it goes out, I think it's the next time anyway, somebody's killed and they later turn up as a human animated by beetles and flies and insects.
Yes.
And then his head falls off.
It does, yeah. I think he was one of the special effects guys for the film. Carpenter just thought he looked really cool and wanted him in it, but he got to keep his severed head, which is nice.
Yeah, it's the humble things in the film industry, isn't it? That keeps you going, keeping your own severed head.
Netflix should start to do this. I think it would really take the sting out of how they've fucked everyone's residual payments.
Yeah, it would be a nice little documentary series for him. But it's just full of weird things. I mean, and it escalates to not quite as weird stuff. It ends with Dennis Dunn hiding in a cupboard.
Yes.
As somebody has a baby and then turns into a sort of wounded woman thing who's possessed, and then gets obsessed with mirrors, and then starts touching a mirror in a sort of hand, sort of a makeup thing. And it's too small. That's not good enough. And then there's another mirror which the black character's laughing at for some reason. He just stood there laughing at a mirror.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
It's an odd movie.
The hand mirror thing is very funny because I thought by that point the character in question is like physically very deteriorated through her satanic possession, and I really did think she was just going to open that hand mirror and go, Jesus, I look terrible. But no, it sets up a whole mirror thing that both has not been even slightly set up in the rest of the film, and also makes perfect sort of metaphorical sense.
Yeah, I mean, like windows, sort of entry points to other realities.
Yeah,
eyes are the windows to the soul. There's
the
all sorts of
whole
parallels.
idea of matter and antimatter, which keeps on coming up in the film's kind of quantum theology. Obviously, one universe is a reflection of the other. That's where the metaphor comes in there.
Yeah, but I understand why people don't like it, but it's just too nuts to dislike, I think.
100%. Like, I cannot imagine anyone going through it and not giggling slightly. But I also think it's the kind of horror movie where that isn't fatal. I think if John Carpenter was trying, there's a great Carpenter quote from an interview actually that I remember reading ages ago, and I can't source it because I read it so long ago. But it's when he was talking about Christine, and he said, "Look, Christine, I like Christine a lot, by the way." He said, "Christine was my attempt to just make a fun horror movie. I'd done the thing, and everyone was appalled by it, and they stayed away. So I just thought, okay, I'll do a fun ghost ride." And he said the way you can tell is that bit at the start where someone sees the dead body in the back seat of the car. they just see it and there's a sting on the soundtrack. If I'd wanted to really scare people, the first time you'd have seen that would be when it fell on top of him.
Yes,
And I
that's a
think,
nice little
yeah,
yeah.
this too, I think, is closer to Christine than The Thing. It's definitely one of his fun ride horrors.
I mean, it's got like peeing in people's mouth as like a huge motif for it, and like people's mouths become sort of water fountains dispensing like demon possession. It's
Yeah,
if you didn't find the funny side in it, frankly, I think you're just taking everything too seriously.
I really do. Yeah, yeah. And there have been some very strained attempts to analyze the subtext of this. I mean, the fact that Satan is transmitted through a sort of exchange of bodily fluids led one critic, John Kenneth Muir, to say that it was an AIDS allegory because this was the point in the 80s
Oh
where
wow,
every horror movie had to be an AIDS allegory. I think that's very strained.
it's a very big reach to get there.
Yeah. I'll tell you what very serious real world event I did keep being reminded of, and I don't think Carpenter's ever confirmed.
Okay.
I kept on thinking of Chernobyl. Now, I'm okay. Clearly, I'm going to have to press the case a bit.
Oh, you can see some sort of parallels, but I might need a little nudging.
Well, aside from the whole kind of this cylinder that contains a substance and is buried underground and guarded and is causing a disaster now that it's leaking, but there was also a popular urban myth, particularly in America, shortly after the Chernobyl accident, that Chernobyl was Russian for wormwood. And this isn't true, but people thought it was true because there's that Bible verse, the verse from the book of Revelation that is quoted in this film, that the apocalypse will be heralded by the star wormwood falling into the water and poisoning the waters of the earth. And so that became kind of a popular urban myth at the same time. And similarly, um, the who was it? Who Kelly is it who ends up disfigured at
I
the
think
end?
so. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that as over the top as that makeup is, it is actually quite similar to photographs of what the first responders at Chernobyl ended up looking like. It is not a
Yeah.
million miles off from radiation burns.
And he doesn't half ask things. Carpenter, everything means something.
Yeah,
Everything is a relationship to another thing or a message, or he's trying to just tell a story in a particular way. He's a very intentional, design led guy.
he's a guy who's very politically engaged, and I think anyone thinking about the central theme of this movie, which is the idea of, is the subatomic world, is the quantum world going to lead us to the devil? I think by the mid 80s, it's kind of hard not to think about atomic power and atomic weapons if you're thinking about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that is true. That's a very good case you've made there. Yeah. And
I
he is
mean,
a very left leaning guy. I mean, that's the
yeah,
thing that always weirds people out, that he has a relationship with Kurt Russell, and the thing Kurt Russell's a sort of the modern progressive man, and John Carpenter's the miserly old right winger. But it's the other way around.
yeah,
He's and yeah, I mean that does scan with his sort of politics. It scans with the politics of the time as well. So
yeah. Because straight after this, of course, he does They Live, which is probably the most sustainably political and allegorical thing he's done.
I mean, the fact that it's still used now as sort of the obey, consume sort of goggle vision.
Yeah.
It's that is not a subtle movie, by the way. That is the least subtle political allegory for consumer. No, what's it called? Consumerism is bad that I
Yes.
may have ever seen.
It's
But
funny too, in that I guess They Live kind of corrects something that if you were minded to, you could probably see as a bit reactionary here, which is that the homeless people in Prince of Darkness are just like possessed zombie type characters.
Yeah, I mean, they have some sort of direction. There's a bit at the beginning where one of them is staring at the church and then starts talking about it's good what you're doing,
Mm,
what you're doing
yeah,
in there, and then shows them his little basket of worms. Oh, okay, you're weird.
yep, must be in California. Um, yeah, that's oh no, it's not the church. The university is Kneale University, isn't it? So that's another obvious Nigel Kneale
Yeah,
reference.
I wonder what his feelings on this were because it's darker than anything that survives that he produced was.
Mm,
Much more nihilistic. I mean, even at the end, it doesn't suggest that. I mean, I don't think looking at the other Apocalypse trilogy, that all have that manner of ending. The Thing has that hugely debated who
mm,
survives, fireplace, peace. Um,
yeah,
in the Mouth of Madness has Sam Neill basically laughing, cackling like an insane person in a cinema. Um, it's a pretty bleak ending too, and this one ends with a sort of gambit of somebody closing in on a mirror, and it doesn't suggest whether it's over or it's not. It's
yeah.
so Neil's feelings. I think Neil had a bit more of an uplifting end to a lot of the stuff that he produced. So I'd be curious what he thought.
Well, sometimes, I mean, there are very dark Nigel Kneale stories. The Last Quatermass is, I think, maybe ill-advisedly pessimistic, and Beasts is very dark. I think one of the things that I do wonder about is that Nigel Kneale was responsible for a very early draft of Halloween 3.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why, as well as doing all this science fiction stuff like Stone Tape and Quatermass that we've been talking about, Nigel Kneale was also a major mover in early folk horror with stuff like Moraine and Beasts. And so I guess you can see some of those slightly folkish touches in Halloween 3 as maybe remnants of the original Nigel Kneale draft of that movie. But I can't imagine he had a good time on it because I don't feel like anyone working on Halloween 3 felt that valued, particularly by the reception they got on first release.
It's found its audience eventually, but too
Including
late.
me. I like it a lot. I
Oh
sort of
yeah,
wish that we'd had Carpenter's original plan where Halloween is just an anthology series and every film is a different story set on Halloween. I think that would have
yeah.
been great.
People really liked Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Uh, it's probably the biggest regret of his career if he looked back. It was great
Yeah.
for him. Um, like Halloween was super successful, but yeah, Halloween 3 has that sort of doomed feeling to it as well as
Yeah.
Princess Darkness. It's not quite as all consuming. It's much more granular and local. Whereas Prince of Darkness is, yeah, we're all screwed. The Antichrist is going to be born, and yeah, we're all going to be zombie people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's not quite as bleak as that. Um, yeah, not quite as bleak as that.
One of the other things in Carpenter's career that I think shaped this film is that, as I said earlier, he was coming off the back of Big Trouble in Little China, and he didn't want to make another film that was as big and as studio based as that. So this is quite a small film, budget of 3 million. It was independently financed. And I think one of the fun ways in which this shows is that the effects are really kind of silent movie either. tricks in a lot of cases. There's reverse film,
Oh
there's yeah,
with the water on the ceiling, which is a very
yes,
classical silent film gag.
yeah,
Because there's some great ones in the silent era. It's not like saying it is a damning with faint praise thing. The beauty of the silent era is they were figuring out, they were basically inventing the cinematic medium, weren't they?
yeah,
And you look at some of the Buster Keaton movies and the effect shots in that, and I think any horror movie would be pretty proud to have stuff like
I mean,
the chest diving sequence from Sherlock Jr.
yeah, yeah.
example.
I mean, Buster Keaton's almost cheating because he did all of it for real.
He did. That man, he had issues, I guess.
But I think those silent movie tricks always work. I think they're always fascinating. It was really interesting to me when Everything Everywhere All at Once came out, and people really reacted with a jump to that bit where Stephanie Shue's face comes out on the back of her head, despite the fact that they've clearly just cut to a reverse angle shot of her with her clothes on backwards and a wig over her face, and then she pulls the hair aside. It's such a basic trick, but it's worked for over a century,
Yeah, it's that sort of sometimes simple is king.
Yeah.
And in an era where, like 1987, that is like prime slasher era of
Yes.
gross effects and lots of stabbings.
Mm.
To have like such inventive effect shots in this, like the bit I mentioned earlier with the insects keeping the man up.
Yeah.
Not a complicated shot, but it's a time-consuming one. It's so much more effective, I think, and more oppressive a feel than having just lots of gore gags.
Yeah. And also, I'm sure Carpenter sort of felt like he'd done that, in terms of that kind of 80s maximalist, more is more, gore is gore kind of horror. You could very easily argue that no one ever did it better than he did in The Thing. So why bother doing it twice?
He did have that sort of vibe of his career because you say Carpenter-esque or whatever sort of term they use to feel like a Carpenter movie. There isn't that one thing.
No, I think
Every
people,
movie was vastly different than the one before it.
when people talk about the characteristics of Carpenter or things being Carpenterish, I often find they're talking about music more than the actual films.
And even his music was synth based, but tone and mood of these things was vastly different. He had weird sort of esoteric drone in some of it, and I can't remember what it was. One's basically like a rock score. I think that was that Vampires was like that. I can't remember.
Oh, I haven't seen Vampires, I don't think.
But I wouldn't change that because it's got like some pretty bad cast members in that one. James Woods, in case people don't know.
Yes, well, yeah. But yeah, I know what you're saying because, normally, I do like a lot of modern attempts at the Carpenter-esque score. I do like the work of people like Disaster Piece and the Chromatics, but when I listened to the score in this, I was reminded that Carpenter's actual scores are a lot more diverse than the kind of down, 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 down synth-based caricature that people have of them.
Yeah, because the atmosphere created by that score, it has its like stings here and there, but most of the time it's just menace. Creates incredible menace through that little weird keyboard machine in this.
100%, and it's it's going for the same kind of mood and tonal territory as a lot of previous satanic horrors. It's trying to achieve with a keyboard what Jerry Goldsmith achieved in The Omen with a full orchestra and a choir, and it's
Yeah.
surprisingly effective at doing that.
Yeah, I mean, if that's his legacy, then so be it. But he really enjoys the music. It's
He
amazing
does.
that a director has like a new sort of career. I mean, he does it with his son Dan, I think, and somebody else. But he's had a great career as a musician. He's had what, 2 albums, a remix album, and he'd done an album where he's basically released all of the songs from all of the movies he did. So
Wow.
it's not actually, he's done 3 albums. Yeah, he's done quite a bit.
And you're aware, of course, about the film soundtrack that he said yes to recently, right?
Yeah, he did the score for the Halloween remake trilogy.
Not
As
that.
the Ma.
I thought you'd seen this. There was a clip going around towards the start of this year where Bong Joon-ho was on the promo trail for Mickey 17, and he was talking at an event with John Carpenter, and he said, in the future, I really want to do a horror movie soon. Will you do the score? And Carpenter said yes. And
Oh
the
man,
delight on Bong Joon-ho's face. He didn't look that happy when he won his Oscar.
what can you blame him?
Not at all.
If it's the ultimate validation, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, he also did the Halloween score, which I think is a lack of judgment on John Carpenter's behalf. But I think his fate is tied with that series. I don't think he could have said no, really.
No, I think even the harshest review of the Halloween remake trilogy has not blamed John Carpenter for taking that gig.
No. But it's funny that a director can have a new career like that, because I don't know of any other examples really. There's career directors who basically can't work because they can't get the money, but
Yeah.
they basically become sort of personas, personalities on the media sort of sphere. But John Carpenter basically said, "Okay, you're not going to let me make films. I'll do something else instead. I was bored of films anyway." And he goes to have this really successful career as a musician. He's toured everywhere, that man,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you would not think it at all. Like a director could do that with their post-film career.
I think the other thing is, like, it's a post-film career that keeps him in the movie industry, which is very unusual. Like, you can point to directors who've just jacked it in and gone off to write books or paint or whatever and just say, I never want anything to do with Hollywood again. But in a lot of ways, John Carpenter is more influential and more of a power now than he's been for years with his
Yeah.
second career. You know,
Yeah.
there's one of his musical pieces in Baccarat. Um,
Oh, really? I didn't know.
yeah. So he's still very active in films, even though he's not really directing much anymore.
My biggest gripe with John Carpenter, though, is something you said earlier. It's the influence that people have taken from it, and they just think John Carpenter just, did these cool little synth scores where it's like a cool number, and there you go, that'll do.
Yeah.
And it's such a horrible legacy, because I'm sick of synth scores, and John Carpenter is to blame. But he was never as bad as the things that he's influenced. Never.
No, that the fate of a lot of great creatives, isn't it? It's Alan Moore writing Watchmen and thinking, oh wow, this will inspire people to write really imaginative personal superhero stories. No, it won't, Alan. Sadly, it really will not.
Maybe you can enough on both hands, but beyond that, yeah, you're really stretching that
Yeah.
one. But yeah, it's so lovely that he's found that career, because he did basically. Well, I think maybe the passion left him. I don't know. As he got older, maybe it was just harder to get projects off the ground. But the stuff that he did in his late career, not great as far as an end to his filmmaking career. So
We've
it's nice that he
we've
found something
dissed
else.
Masters of Horror a bit before, but I think Cigarette Burns was a nice late flowering for him in a lot of people's eyes. I think, part of what happens is just it's the same thing that he was going through with Big Trouble in Little China, that you just you lose the patience to say yes to all of the bullshit that producers are saying, and you're also, after a certain point, not hot enough that you can go to an indie outfit and saying, look, give me 3 million and creative control and I'll give you a film that'll sell. So there's a dignity in stepping back in that situation.
I mean, he is a famous curmudgeon, so
Yeah.
maybe that does contribute to it. But I think he's one of those examples of it being sort of you should meet your heroes if it's him, but it depends on what day you meet him. Really. So but yeah, that he's found another career. I don't know any other examples of a director who's basically become a composer in their post career.
No, I can't think of one either.
I just think I think David Lynch has done other things post career, not musician.
Yeah.
He dabbled in.
No, he has done music. Maybe that's quite close. But I think with Lynch, he never sort of gave up, did he? He never stopped.
I think Jim Jarmusch has a band as well.
He does, yeah.
Sort of a drone-y band, which will never have any sort of impact because drone is a hard sell to anybody, frankly. I think they did the score for Only Lovers Left Alive, if I remember correctly.
They did, yeah, and Patterson.
But it's a small list of people who are director and musician.
Yeah, and as I say, a small number of people who were a director and a musician whose music gets used outside of their own films, I think is really unusual.
I mean, he's talked about sort of the all-timers as far as composers. I mean, I don't think he has the range of an Ennio Morricone, but as far as the tone of what he creates, it's so singular and elevates the movies that it was a part of, really.
It's not bad for someone who was once asked why he composes his own soundtracks, and he said, "I'm cheap and I turn up on time."
That's so damning with faint praise, but he's done well for himself. So
he has. That feels like a good place to stop. Rob, can you let people know where they can find you online?
Yes, you can find me on Blue Sky and Instagram as Uncut Robcast. 2 episodes around this time will have been out for the returning Uncut. We've got never remember his name now, but we've got Yorgos Lanthimos and
Alex Garland.
Alex Garland, there we go. I don't know why I always forget his name. It's
quite a dull name, to be fair. It's no Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yeah, it's just the guy who you work with in the office.
Yeah,
yeah. We've got them 2 coming up. We'll have other planned. And in the new year, like I mentioned earlier, we've got those interview pieces with filmmakers hopefully coming up. I'm optimistic about that. But Uncut Robcast across social media is where you will find me.
As for me, you can search for me on Letterboxd. Just search for Graham Williamson. And you can find me on Instagram at Graham W Film, which is where I'll be posting a lot of stuff regarding upcoming screenings of my film Song of the Suburbs. We will be back in 2 weeks' time with, I don't know what. We've got a few things planned for November. We're going to do one battle after another in November. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Who's the musician in that?
Tons. Yeah, the communist selling it is basically just all indie musicians.
Cool. Interesting.
No wonder they fail. But it's until a couple of weeks' time, that's been your lot from Pop Screen. I've been Graham.
And I have been Rob.
And we'll see you in a fortnight.